What's going on, everybody? It's another day in the market. You're here with me at Stock Picks by Tim, and I'm just going to get into a couple of things in the market. We just recently got our earnings for a lot of stocks that I talk about. Clsk just released earnings yesterday, Senseonics, Matterport as well. And if you haven't seen those earnings, I will leave a link below for you. Haven't finished Matterport. It was a long day yesterday, but I will get that one out, just a consolidated version for you, so you can get all the main points out of Matterport's earnings. We just got our inflation data, so I'm going to go over that. And I'm also going to look over TradingView's heat map, see what the overall market's doing, also give you my picks on some small caps that I see some great deals in, look over a couple charts. All I ask is you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can be notified when I put out my next video. I put out daily videos, sometimes multiple times a day. And first off, let's look at TradingView's heat map. Now, as you can see, we've got a pretty decent day today. Some of the large cap tech is down a little bit, but we've got a lot of stocks up. We've got the banks up. We've got energy, a lot of gas companies up a lot, health, utilities. I mean, across the board, everything looks relatively up, with the exception of, say, Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, some big names. Now, I see the real deals in the small caps right now, and we're going to get into a couple of those. But first off, let's get into the inflation data. So our CPI was 8.3%. compared to 8.5 over the previous month. Now this to me does seem good to see that it is coming down, but we were expecting an 8.1%. So that is a bit concerning. However, we are seeing it come down. So it seems like the Fed's work in raising interest rates is starting to have that effect. And also core CPI rose by 6.2% following March's 6.5% increase, which was more than the 6% expected. So our inflation rate is decreasing compared to the month previously. However, it's not in line with expectations. So I think that's what the market needed, just a sigh of relief, seeing that inflation actually did come down a bit compared to the previous month. Now here we are at Bitcoin's chart, and once we broke this trend line, we have just sold off like a rock. And we dipped all the way under 30,000, quickly to about 29,000, started recovering. We're sitting at about 31.5. So I see now is a great time to add to Bitcoin. I was kind of just watching it as it was falling, but now that it's kind of leveling out, if you're long term on this, I see it as a great time to add again. Short term, we could definitely pull back further. It's anybody's guess where this will go. However, looking at the MACD and the RSI, we are bullish, we are rising. And looking at the candles, we are holding over the 21, 13, and 8 EMA, so that is a good sign there. Now, if you're certain Bitcoin's going to go to 20,000, you might want to wait, of course. If you're very bearish, we still have some time. We still have some fear before our next halving, potentially, before we get some hype in this one, and before the overall market starts recovering. Now, as tech sells off, as tech continues down, potentially Bitcoin can continue down with it. However, as time goes on, we are inching closer and closer to our next halving, and we are now past the halfway mark to our next halving. Now, while short-term Bitcoin can go in either direction, long-term I definitely see it as a great time to add to my Bitcoin collection. Next up is going to be CleanSpark, or CLSK stock. Now, this one did just report their earnings. I expected more revenue personally. I'm a bit disappointed seeing the revenue, although we did increase over the previous quarter. But that rate of increase compared just isn't as much as it normally is. We've doubled up, almost doubled up, and now we're just right in line with our previous revenue. I'm not worried about it. It's good to see that our EPS is positive yet again, although we did miss that, so that likely, just seeing this miss on both, in this current environment, seeing them miss their top and bottom line, their revenue and their EPS, just caused this to sell off. Wall Street doesn't want to deal with this. Seeing Bitcoin continue down is also adding to fear for this one. People saying that, oh, Bitcoin goes down to 20,000, what's CleanSpark going to be making then? And yes, that's true. If Bitcoin was to drop under 30,000, come to the 20,000s, this would definitely hurt CleanSpark's revenue, but they will make it. They will survive through that. And here we have CleanSpark on the chart. It just broke new lows after earnings. We dropped after hours a lot, and we are down today. I'm sure those of you that are very long-term on CleanSpark see this as a great time to add. Now, I want to give you one positive that I got out of their earnings and one negative. So one negative, they did mention that a lot of their expenses was due to severance packages for their energy side of the business. To me, it kind of sounds like they're slowly getting out of the energy side and moving into the Bitcoin mining, because that seems to be obviously what's more profitable. Now, obviously, since this is still CleanSpark, they are still an energy company in their core. They still have all that energy knowledge. They will still utilize that towards their Bitcoin mining. So all hope is not lost. They still have that experience in energy, so that will definitely help them. And I see them as the best Bitcoin miner choice because of their energy experience. Because if you're going to be a Bitcoin miner, as they've said before, the most important thing for a Bitcoin miner is energy. Knowing energy, knowing how to work around energy, all that kind of stuff. So I still see CleanSpark definitely as the best choice in Bitcoin miner, the least likely to dilute. And when you think about how they sold their Bitcoin, whoever's behind the scenes, you know, pulling the trigger on those sells for their Bitcoin, for CleanSpark's Bitcoin, is doing a great job of it. They've almost always sold in a favorable position. They've sold in the 42s, 41s, 39s. I mean, right now, looking at it, CleanSpark looks like geniuses for selling the Bitcoin they sold when everyone else was talking crap, saying that's a horrible idea. Why are you selling your Bitcoin? You know, what's better, diluting shareholders, acquiring more debt, or selling Bitcoin and allowing that Bitcoin to mine you more Bitcoin in the future? Sure, short term, you look at it, hey, they're getting rid of Bitcoin. To me, that's a good thing, because otherwise, what would this Bitcoin be doing that they wouldn't have potentially sold? It would just be sitting on their balance sheet, losing value right now. So I'm glad that they have this strategic position with Bitcoin where they're not just only holding, they are taking advantage of selling it. And they did say that, you know, they will have this hodling strategy where if Bitcoin does come down, they will be less likely to sell it. So they definitely have options moving forwards, and I highly doubt they are going to dilute. They have said it themselves that, you know, that is literally like their last option. What they would choose before that would be, you know, Bitcoin selling or acquiring debt. So that's just food for thought for CleanSpark. I'm definitely still in this one. I'm definitely still 100% committed. No losing sleep here for me. But let me know what you guys think about CleanSpark. Let me know what you think about the earnings, and what was your biggest takeaway from it. Next up, I wanted to mention Senseonics, and this one I do have their earnings as well cut up down below for you, so check that one out. But we are down 10% on the day. It is just selling off, and when you look at their earnings, they did a decent job, but what I don't like is seeing that revenue considerably under any quarter in the last 4 quarters. So that is not a good sign to me, to see that revenue down, but it was over expectations. They did give an unsatisfactory forward guidance last quarter, so we did pretty much expect this. This did cause a little bit more selling for Wall Street. Now this one I see as a great time to add if you're willing to take that short-term risk. I have a lot of faith in their 6-month CGM, and they are going to be in the process of rolling those out, getting rid of their older product, and they are currently doing this in Europe as well. And speaking of Europe, most of their revenue actually comes from Europe, but I do expect their revenue to increase from the USA now that they have their FDA approval for the 6-month CGM. And they will be working towards their 1-year product. And this is going to be absolutely revolutionary in comparison to any other CGM out there. And they already have the longest lasting CGM with that 180-day product. I have a lot of faith in Senseonics. And think about this, you know, if they even become half the company that Dexcom is, which is basically the leading competitor in the space, if they become half the company that Dexcom is, you're talking about a 40x from here. Food for thought, just think about that. And next up, I wanted to mention Matterport. This one released earnings too, and I'm going to be in the process of working on editing it out. It is like an hour-long earnings. I'm going to try to cut it into less than half an hour for you, but definitely stay tuned for that. They did beat their EPS, negative 10 cents, still negative. But that's good. That's good that they did beat that pretty nicely, and it caused Wall Street to jump in this one, start running it up. We did see a nice after hours push, and now we're up today 6%. I still see this one as a great time to add in. I mean, considering we're at like a little over $1 billion market cap, they've got about 600 million in debt. No, they aren't profitable yet, but they are working towards it. And this one actually, they gave some great numbers. They saw some huge subscriber growth. And seeing them slightly beat their revenue, but seeing that we beat quarter over quarter over quarter consistently, that is good news. I want to see that we continue, stay over this 28 million. Hopefully next quarter we will be over 30 million in revenue. We'll see how that goes. But I definitely like Matterport at this price. I see it as a great time to add in, despite that we are up 5-6%. I don't care. Long term, I think this is a great time to get into Matterport. But that's all I got for now, guys. I got to get back to my kids. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, take it easy.